Well, thanks to a new law in Japan, it is going to be incredibly dangerous to be a VTuber or a mangaka. I was cruising through Twitter and found some incredible new information that I frankly cannot believe that the government is abiding by. Welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idle, and let's get into just why being a VTuber or a mangaka might be a life-changing experience for the negative now. So here I am cruising through Twitter, just minding my own business, and I see this from Noodles. Manga authors being required by law to show their face. I don't see this going south at all. New Japan's law to reveal the real identity of mangakas to the public. So I thought, really, is this real? I had to take a look at it. So you do a quick Google search, because you know Google is your friend. Use that search engine. Fact check, children. Don't just listen to everything you see on Twitter. And lo and behold, Japanese manga artists forced to reveal their identities following new law. This is modified on June 22nd, so yesterday by the time you're seeing this. And here's the dealio, guys. When it comes to, anonymity on the internet, we really do take that for granted. Americans are just so happy to throw their anonymity away just because they want to be the next big famous TikTok star. But a lot of individuals, VTubers, manga artists, and frankly a lot of just people, even if they're not in some sort of public-facing profession like that, value their anonymity in these Eastern cultures. So let's get into this article, see what it has to say. Following the growth of the manga and anime industries in recent years, creators in these fields and related sectors have begun leaning towards hiding their true identities. Now, this is not necessarily true, but part of it's true. This has actually been very, very common practice in Japan for manga authors. This is not a recent thing. So it says they've begun leaning towards hiding their identities. No, that's actually always been a thing for mangaka. It's been very common that they keep their identity as hidden as possible for a multitude of reasons. One, because it's not exactly the most respected profession. Another reason is, they don't really want to be hounded by otaku anytime they're out. They want to live a nice private life when they spend all those hours, just drawing over a table to these unimaginable deadlines. So yes, it makes sense that when they go out, they don't want to be Michael Jackson. VTubers and creators of Japanese comics are two popular entities that often hide their true identities due to the nature of their lines of work. While some fans find it frustrating to not know what their favorite VTube star or author of their favorite manga looks like, many fans pay such choices no mind. After all, it's up to the creator of a piece of content to decide exactly how they want to be known for their work, whether it be by a pen name or otherwise, and there have been plenty of authors that have used pen names throughout the past. I mean, Stephen King, I can't remember if his is a pen name or if he occasionally uses a pen name. The most famous, at least in Western culture, is Samuel Clemens, Mark Twain. That's the one that everyone jumps to. Pen names are very normal things, and they take it a step further in Japan. They want to hide their entire identity. I mean, even Stan Lee is not Stan Lee. He was born Stanley Liebert. Now, of course, here in the West, your pen name comes out, and it's no big deal. You're probably still more well-known by your pen name, like Stan Lee or like Mark Twain, but at the end of the day, their face is well-known, and people can, recognize them if they're shown a picture of them. Usually maybe not by their real name, but by their pen name. But the point is, they still have a recognizable face. That's not necessarily the case in Japan, nor should it be. There should be no reason the government should require you to show your face for some sort of artistic endeavor, but that's the road that we're headed down. However, a new Japanese law set to take effect in October 2023 could greatly change how these creators are able to hide their identities from the general public. Likewise, this could completely shift the VTuber industry into a new direction while also having a significant impact on creators in the manga industry as well. Now look, I've said it before on my channel, I've reacted to a couple of VTuber things. That's not really my speed. I'm not, as much as I love anime and manga and whatnot, VTubers, it doesn't really grab me. I can see why people love it, and again, some of the stuff I've reacted to VTube-wise has been very cool, but it's just not something I personally keep up with. That said, I mean, does anyone know who ironmouse is? Like, does anyone know who ironmouse really is? Have they seen her face? Have they ever heard her without that filter? I mean, assuming she uses a filter, that could be her natural voice, and if so, wow. The point is, all we really know about her, to my knowledge, is she has a lot of health issues and lives in Japan. Maybe she's like half American, or was that other one that got canceled for the Hogwarts Legacy stuff? Point is, they're very private. We know more about their avatars, and we think of the avatar as the user. That anonymity is incredibly important. If they wanted to get out there and not use those avatars and make themselves famous with their own voice, their own face, they could have done it. It's not like they haven't built up a large enough following by now. There's a reason people don't do it. They like that anonymity. anonymity, and there should be no reason that a government entity should take away that anonymity to pay you. But that is what's happening. New qualified invoice system set to expose VTuber manga artists' identities with public access to them. In a nutshell, the qualified invoice system will make it easier for the Japan tax collectors to gather information regarding how businesses are paying their contractors. Contractors will be pressured to register, since not doing so will make them more expensive for business. While details are sparse on the new invoicing system, its impact on the manga and VTuber industries is already clear and apparent from the little information currently available. Essentially, the invoices that are used in Japan for contractor work, which manga artists and VTubers fall under, will now require a worker's real name to verify their work and identity. And look, if you're familiar with VTubers, you probably already know where this is going. But let's say you're not really into the VTube scene, but you love yourself some anime and manga. What does that mean to you? Like, hey, how common is it really for manga artists or mangaka as they're known to use a fake name? Well, let me direct you to Koyaharu Gotoge, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Does that name ring a bell? No, not at all, but you're probably familiar with their most famous work, Demon Slayer. No one knows the real name of the person who wrote Demon Slayer. They've always gone by that pen name, Koyaharu Gotoge. Now, if it was me, and I wrote arguably the single most successful modern anime, and I did it all under a pen name for anonymity, and it blew up into the most popular modern anime / manga, I would definitely like to remain anonymous, because you are opening just this major can of worms when it comes to what could happen once your identity is out there. At the end of the day, these people, I guess Japan is not like America. You're probably not going to get swatted or anything like that, but that doesn't mean they're immune to stalkers or people being creepily obsessed, internet stalking, if not real life stalking. Look, I know all Asians look the same, but I'm pretty sure they can pick each other out in a crowd, and if they realize Koyaharu by their real name and their real face, things can get pretty weird, pretty creepy, pretty fast if they just want, like their issue one of the manga signed or something, and they stalk the individual to do it. We really take for granted just how much anonymity should actually mean to individuals here in the West. Unfortunately, these creators have no choice but to go along with the new rule, since the invoices can only be verified by using their real names. Likewise, the Japanese Ministry of Finance doesn't consider using someone's real name as highly risky personal information. How is someone's real legal birth name not highly risky personal information? Here we are in the digital age. You get someone's real name, you could do untold horrors to them behind the scenes. Bank accounts, social media access, Twitter feeds, the whole nine, their actual job. Identity theft is a major problem. And yeah, you might need something like social security numbers or whatnot, but you know how easy that stuff is to get once you have the name? Look, I ain't gonna lie, I'm not an expert. I certainly have never stolen someone's ID before, but I do know that as someone who's had my ID stolen, I'm not just out there giving out my social security number willy-nilly. So when people get a hold of your real name, yeah, there's some bad things that can come of that. And if these people's careers and livelihoods are on the line because they have to show their face, well, maybe not show their face, but give their name out, which makes their face very easy to find, how is that not considered highly risky personal information? That is bananas to me, and therefore will not improve to make countermeasures for public access to this data. While the database is intended to be used for commercial purposes in order to make filing bulk invoices with several clients more efficient, the public will have access to this database as well. And look, most normal people are going to be like, whatever, I don't want to sift through all this paperwork to find this person's real name or whatnot. But the people we're talking about aren't normal people. When we're talking about stalkers, we're talking about people who want to steal identities, we're talking about people who might have a grudge or a vendetta against someone, yeah, they're gonna take the time to sift through that information and find exactly what they're looking for. This is legitimately dangerous. As of late 2022, the ministry had finalized the system and showed no plans or interest in reviewing its finer points, especially those relative to keeping creators' identities hidden. Once again, I ask the very simple question, why? Why is your real name needed to be financially compensated for the art that you put out there? When you go online right now and you go to some sort of, random artist page on Twitter and you ask them for a commission, you pay them the $50 to get this nice piece of art or whatever it is, you probably don't know their full first and last name. You're going off their Twitter handle, and that's good enough. Did you buy product? Was product satisfactory? awesome. You don't care about their name or anything like that. This is so insane that they think that a name is so important. They can say that it's, to be used for commercial purposes in order to make filing bulk invoices more easier and whatnot, but it's been working for the last, I don't know, how many years has manga been a thing? Like, since the inception of manga, more likely. That is such a bogus response. Why now, of all times? Getting rid of anonymity in the digital age by law? That is straight up nefarious. Wondering, is there English article about new qualified invoice system in Japan to be unwelcome implemented besides tax firms intro? It will affect many, including anime industry. Now, very obviously, this was translated likely from Japanese, so it's quite broken, but it's pretty easy to find out what it means. I'm wondering if there's an English article to get more information and talking about how it's unwelcome. It's not welcome. This is not a good thing that's being implemented in Japan for any reason besides, I assume, tax forms. Where the hands of creators and companies alike are being forced is by the fact that companies must submit a qualifying invoice of payment to contractors to get a tax credit. However, to get these qualifying invoices, their contractors must submit them with their real names due to the new system. In other words, for either party to be able to come out on top financially, compliance with the new system is necessary. You guys have to realize, we know very little about so many mangaka, and by extension, the more recent trend of VTubers. Not everyone is an Eiichiro Oda or an Akira Toriyama, people whose anime and manga have gone so massive that they've embraced the public eye. In fact, even Akira Toriyama, who is, I would think, probably the most famous mangaka of all time, still rarely does interviews. There's very few photos of the guy on the internet. He's like famous by mangaka standards, and even then, he's probably harder to track than someone like your boy Leon here, who's only been doing this for like 6 months on YouTube. There's so little information on Akira Toriyama out there. It's people like pride themselves on their anonymity because it makes their lives easier. Now, is that good? Is that bad? Really, that's up to you to decide, but we should be in agreement that there should be no reason for the government to take that anonymity away. Especially intriguing is that the VTuber industry, these performers are prohibited from sharing personally identifying information. So your girl ironmouse or Pipkin Pippa, they're not even allowed to share that info. Now, why are they not allowed to share it? I don't know. I assume because it could damage the brand if who they are got out, and the companies that own these VTuber avatars and whatnot don't want to see their damage to their brand, which I completely understand. But that is a complete clash when it comes to the ideologies between the law and how the business runs. Now, me, being a flesh and blood American who loves myself some bacon and eggs in the morning, I think that the company should be able to do whatever they want so long as they're following the law. Now, granted, in this instance, they would still be following the law, but this is a dumb law. Laws like this shouldn't exist, so we're in a really weird gray area. The law is bad. I want the company to follow the law because I don't want a company doing something illegal. That being said, the law being a bad law, what does that mean? Should a company follow a bad law? Whether a law is bad, I guess, is obviously subjective, but I can't find any positive to this. Oh, it makes tax forms easier? Get the hell out of here. That's not justifyingly positive when it comes to putting people's personal information out there, if you ask me. However, in this new system, these agencies will have to completely change their approach to the matter in order to remain financially viable. The final effects will be interesting to see once the new system is enacted in October 2023. Now, but this is the end of the article, but there's something else I want to show you. If you guys are familiar with Marvel Comics, the Civil War arc, not the shitty Civil War movie, I'm talking about the comics from 2006, Lord JC here says something brilliant. Why does this remind me of the Superhero Registration Act from the Marvel Comics Civil War? And this is exactly like the Superhuman Registration Act if you're familiar with that story arc. If you're not familiar with that story arc, get yourself familiar. It's one of the best comic book arcs in, honestly, comic book history. I love it. I mean, Maximum Carnage is better, but I digress. Mangakas don't have to show what they look like. As long as they're good people and create stories we care about, they have a right to their privacy. They don't have to unmask themselves. And that's exactly right. Why do you care about the name and face of the person making the art? That just doesn't make sense. All in all, once October 2023 rolls around, we're going to actually start seeing the effects of this, and guys, let me tell you, I don't think the effects are going to be very good. That being said, I don't think we'll see much of a change either, if that makes sense. Japan, individuals in the East, they're far more adept at just kowtowing and following the rules. They don't have exactly the revolutionary spirit of us hot-blooded Americans, but maybe something will come of this. Maybe there will be some sort of Japanese version of the writer's strike like what we've got going on now. It's hard to say, but I'd be willing to guess while they know this is going to be bad for them, and while they want to complain and maybe talk about it on social media, they also are probably just going to roll over and accept it as their new lot in life, despite the fact that this is objectively a bad idea. But those are just my opinions. Let me know yours in the comments below, or let me know on Twitter, where you can find me at BoltTheWord. And please do subscribe. I am a nerdy news channel. I cover nerdy news every day. Hopefully more news about anime, not as often as I'd like to, despite my love for the genre, but also about video games, movies, Magic the Gathering, you name it. It's all here in the nerdosphere. And this has been Words of Paradise.